Now that we have highlighted the important information and written out a summary, we'll be filling out our graphic organizer. For this lesson, we will be doing a compare and contrast organizer. We will be comparing how school was before the case of Brown versus Board of Education and how it is in present day because of this case. To do this activity, we will divide a piece of paper in half with one side labeled past and one side labeled present, as you see in my example. Using the highlighted information and the summary we have written, I have created an example. In my example, in both the past and present section, you can see that I have presented information from the article that we read as well as prior knowledge that I have. Let me read to you an example in my past section about prior knowledge that I added. I wrote, even with the 14th and 15th Amendment in place, segregation in schools still exists. While we did not get this information from the article that we found to research, I knew this and it is going to help me in understanding more about my historical event. Now, another information that I wrote down was African American students were not allowed admission to all white schools, as well as many African American students had to make long walks to attend schools. These 2 points were from the article that we read, that we summarized and underlined these main points. These main points will help us understand more about this certain historical event. Those are a few points from my past section. Now let's move on to the present section. In the present section, you will see that I did a few comparisons and contrastions to how it is in present day to how it was in past. One of the things I wrote was, in contrast to the past, schools are no longer segregated. While this was not specifically stated in the article, this is prior knowledge of mine. Another point I have is students are not denied acceptance to school due to race. This is a point that I inferred from the article that we read at the beginning of the lesson. Those are 2 contrasts that I inferred from my research. A comparison that I have is compared to the 1950s when schools were segregated, we continue to deal with the issue of regional housing discrimination. Again, this isn't a point directly taken from the article, this is prior knowledge of mine. Now that you have seen the example of how we do the graphic organizer with comparing and contrasting life before a historical event and life in present day after a historical event, you will get into your group and create this graphic organizer to share with the classroom.